The most interesting type of relationship is the one-to-many relationship. First, because if all our data is only composed of one-to-one relationships, a spreadsheet application like Excel could do the job, at least for a small dataset. As for the many-to-many relationships, most of them can be expressed as two one-to-many relationships. We will describe this in more detail in the many-to-many relationship lesson. A one-to-many relationship means that an object of a given type is associated with n objects of a second type, while the relationship in the opposite direction means that each of the objects of the second type can only be associated with one object on the one side. As an example of this relationship, we use a person and their credit cards, or a blog entry and its comments. A person has n credit cards, but each of these credit cards belongs to one and only one person. Using MongoDB and its document model give us a few ways to represent this kind of relationship. We can embed each document from the many side into the document on the one side, or vice versa, we can embed the document from the one side into each document on the many side. Instead of using a single collection and embedding the information in it, we keep the documents in two separate collections and reference documents from one collection in documents of the other collection. Using our product catalog use case, let's have a look at all of these representations of the one-to-many relationship. The first representation embeds the n documents as an array of subdocuments. In our product catalog, we keep the top reviews of an item within the item itself because we want to display these reviews once the item gets retrieved from the database. In other words, items are the main objects we access, and when we do so, we want to bring in all the associated top reviews with them. For simple applications, where the number of embedded documents is small, this is the most common representation. The information that is needed together stays together. As for querying on the many side, which is now embedded, we use multi-key indexes, which are designed for indexing values in array fields. The second representation of one-to-many relationships is to embed the document from the one side in each of the documents associated with it from the many side. Let's use n as the count of documents associated to our document on the one side. A good example will be an address and the orders delivered to the address. Over time, because many orders were delivered to the same address, we have a one-to-many relationship between address and orders. Applications are more likely to handle orders than trying to figure out everything shipped to a given location. The access patterns focus is on orders, not addresses. As a result, it makes more sense for us to store the address, the one side of the relationship, on every order, the many side of the relationship, rather than the other way around. This representation is less often used. The main disadvantage of this representation is that the embedded object must be duplicated in many locations. However, if the nature of the embedded information is static, hardly ever changes, such as the shipping address of the order, it is in fact better to store it in the order document itself. If the address for a given customer changes in the future, it does not affect all the previous orders and where they got delivered. The third representation is to have two collections. From the one side, we reference the many side. To do so, we need an array of references. In our zips collection, which contain our zip codes, we create an array of stores, where each element in the array is a store ID value that identifies documents in the store's collection. The referencing representations are great if we can't or don't need to embed the remaining entity information. We get to know all the references, the stores, without making a second query on the store's collection. If the entries in the array are descriptive enough, we are saving ourselves some queries. However, in this representation, we need to keep in sync the array references and the reference documents. If we delete the reference document, we must also delete the reference to this document. MongoDB does not currently support foreign keys or cascade deletes. Therefore, there is no way for all references to automatically be removed on document deletion. The application must perform all of this sort of data management. More commonly, references are stored in the documents on the many side of a one-to-many relationship. For example, We may have a collection of zip codes, each zip code having possibly many stores in it. By having a single field called zip in each of my stores documents, I can reference the document in the zips collection. Compared to the previous representation, if we delete a store, there is no additional reference to remove, because the reference is inside the document we are removing. To recap this lesson, when representing one-to-many relationships, there is a lot of choices. Embed or reference and choose the side between one and many. Duplication may occur when embedding on the many side. However, it may be okay or even preferable. Prefer embedding over referencing for simplicity, or when there is a small number of reference documents, as all related information is kept together. Embed on the side of the most queried collection. Prefer referencing when the associated documents are not always needed with the most often queried documents.